The greatest gift you can give is not necessarily your money. It's not what you can buy someone. The greatest gift is your time, your attention, your love, your concern. When you take time to go see someone, you look them in the eyes, they feel your love, they enjoy your company. That means more than any material gift that you could ever give. And the people that are close to you, that really love and respect you, they would rather have you than your money. You can give them all the money in the world, but if you're not spending time with them, they're missing out on the best of you. When you give the gift of yourself, you're saying, you're extremely important to me. I care about you. I love you. You're valuable. You're giving something that money cannot buy. And sometimes writing a check is taking the easy way out. I know I need to go visit my parents, but I'm so busy at the office, I'll just pay the neighbor to watch after them. My friend's in the hospital. I know I should go see them, but I don't want to miss working out this week. I'll just send them some flowers. No, take time to give your greatest gift. I learned this from my father. At least once a year, he would have me drive him back to Paris, Texas. That's where he grew up. And there was this older couple that was related to us somehow. And the man was American Indian, so nice. And his wife and him, they lived in this small wood frame house. And they were in their late 80s and had some health issues and didn't have much money, didn't have anybody to watch after them. My father would pay their rent, buy their medications, have somebody take care of the house. Daddy could have thought, that's good enough. I'm doing my part. No, he understood this principle, that the greatest gift he could give was not his money, but himself. And my father was very busy, pastored a large church, had a lot of responsibilities. This could have been very low on his priority list, but every year we would take that 5-hour journey. First time we went, I told Victoria, next Tuesday, we're going to Paris. Didn't tell her Paris, Texas until the morning of. We got to Paris and she never did find the Eiffel Tower there, but I'll never forget pulling up in their driveway. They were sitting on the front porch, waiting with such anticipation. You would have thought the President of the United States showed up. They were so happy. We'd go in and eat the lunch they had prepared. Then we would sit there and visit for hours and hours, listening to their stories, the same ones I'd heard before. A couple of times I thought, let me finish it for you. I was in my early 20s. To be honest, I was so bored. I thought, come on, Daddy, let's go. We've had lunch. We said hello. They know we loved them. My father sat there just as patient as can be. What was he doing? Giving his greatest gift, his time, his attention, his friendship, the gift of himself. And today, people are so busy. With the technology, it's easy to not interact one-on-one. Where we used to go see someone in person, or we used to at least pick up the phone, now we may go months and months and only communicate by text, by email, by Facebook. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to make sure you're not cheating people out of the best of you. To look someone in the eyes is very powerful. To give them your undivided attention speaks volumes. To let them hear your voice is extremely important. You will never regret spending time with the people that you love. Now, I'm all for using technology, but nothing makes the impact like seeing someone face to face. There was this older gentleman that I grew up with, and he was always very good to me. He bought some television equipment for us, just kind, generous man. He'd come up to the office and bring lunch, and we'd all sit around, laugh, talk, have a good time together. One day he had a stroke, couldn't get out anymore, he couldn't drive, and I felt so badly for him. I meant to call him. I had good intentions, but I was so busy. We had a newborn little baby daughter. I was just learning how to minister, had so much going on, I kept putting it off and putting it off. Now, I know friends that would go out to see him, and I'd always tell them, be sure to tell him for me that I miss him. I love him and I'm going to come see him. Well, weeks turned into months. Months turned into years. One morning I woke up with him on my mind so strongly that I got in the car and drove to his house. And the lady that took care of him answered the door. She said, "Joel, he is going to be so happy to see you. He talks about you all the time. He tells people you're just like his own son." I went in and gave him a big hug, and he wept and wept. And we're all busy. We've all got a lot going on. But I'll never regret the time that I spent with him that day. That 1 hour did more to express my love, my gratitude, my respect than 1,000 people telling him for me. I could have sent him money, food, medication, encouragement. That would have been good. He would have been grateful. But it would not have had half the impact of that one visit. The fact that I took time to look him in the eyes, to let him feel the warmth of my hug, to give him my undivided attention, to laugh and talk about old times, that was invaluable. That cannot be purchased by money. Why is that? The greatest gift you can give is yourself. You can't do it for everyone, but you can do it for someone. God has put people in your life that need your gift. Don't put it off and say, "Oh yeah, Joel, I'll do it one day when it slows down at the office. Maybe when the children get back in school. Maybe when the price of gas comes down." Don't hold your breath. If you keep putting it off, you may miss the opportunity. Life is short. There's no guarantee of another day. That visit you've been planning to make, why don't you make it? That friend you've been meaning to see, why don't you go see them? When I left his house that morning, part of me felt very happy and very fulfilled that I could make his day. Another part of me felt sad that I'd held my gift back for so long. It had been years I had been planning to see him, to see the impact that it made, to see him come alive, to see his smile made me wish I'd done it a whole lot sooner. I made a vow that day that I wasn't going to withhold my gift anymore. I'm asking you to do the same thing. Take time for the people that invested in you, the people that made sacrifices, like this man, the people that went out of their way to be good to you. They need more than your money, more than your well wishes, more than your friends saying hello for you. They need the gift of yourself. Here's the key. Only you can give it. Your love, your smile, your friendship, your gratitude, that's one of a kind. Can't be transferred. Doesn't necessarily translate through another person, through a letter. A phone call's good, but don't use that as an excuse to never see them face to face. Tell you something strange about me. There's more than one thing, but this is one. When I read the newspaper every morning, I always read the obituaries. I scan through it and read about people to see who they are, what their story is, how long they've lived. My children still make fun of me. Daddy's reading the obituaries again, starting the day off right, thinking about death. But I've done that for years and years. I think the main reason is to make sure I'm not in it. But the real main reason is it reminds me of how fragile life really is. We grow up thinking that we're invincible. We're going to be here forever with our family and our friends. Our world is always going to be perfect. That's not the case. James 4:14 says, our life is like a mist. We're here for a moment, then we're gone. When you read the obituaries, you see people who were old and people who were young. People who had big families and people with no families. Some obituaries are very long with great accomplishments. Some are short. They just list the people's name and their dates, their age. One thing they all have in common is they're no longer here. Their time on this earth is over. And it's very sobering to look around at who God has put in your life. Who has made a difference? Who has invested in you? Who was there when nobody else was around? They took you under their wing. They mentored you. Are you giving the gift of yourself back to them? Some people come into our lives to get us to a certain level. They make sacrifices. They pay the price. Then we take off and pass them by. Now they're in the shadows. It's easy to forget about them. It's easy to not have any time. Too busy, too important, too successful. I've got too much going on. No, if it had not been for them, you wouldn't be where you are. Take time for the people that took time for you. When my father was in high school, he had a friend named Sam Martin. Sam was always talking to him about the Lord and how he needed to give his life to Christ. My father always thought Sam was a little odd, too religious. Sam would get to school early in the morning and write scriptures on the chalkboard. Most of the students agreed with my father that Sam was just too far out. Well, one night at 2 o'clock in the morning, my father was walking home from a nightclub, 17 years old. He began to think about his eternal destiny. He got home and opened the family Bible on the coffee table. It was just there as decoration. My father had no kind of spiritual upbringing, never been to church before. The Bible fell open to a picture of Jesus knocking at a door. The caption read, "I stand at the door and knock. If any person opens the door, I will come in." My father couldn't understand religion, but he could understand opening a door. The next day, he told Sam what had happened. Sam said, "John, that's God drawing you unto himself." He invited my father to church. They went and sat on the very back row. At the end of the service, the minister invited people to the altar to receive Christ. My father wouldn't go. He was too scared. Sam whispered in his ear, 17 years old, "John, if you'll walk down there, I'll go with you." That day, they both walked down there, and my father gave his life to Christ. And Daddy went on to become a very well-respected, successful minister, founded this church. But here's my point. Sam didn't have that same success. He pastored a church here and there, but nothing really caught on. Later in Sam's life, everything had gone downhill. He was really struggling, working as a greeter at a local retail store. He and my father had stayed in touch somewhat, but not that close. They would call each other every several years. When my father heard how much Sam was struggling, he got in his car and he drove to Dallas to visit. Now they were both in their 70s. Sam was so thrilled. He couldn't believe his old high school friend John had taken time to come. My dad was very loyal. He invited Sam to be a part of our staff as one of our ministers. Sam and his wife moved to Houston. Sam spent the last 8 years of his life working with my father day in and day out. What was my dad doing? Giving the gift of himself. He knew he wouldn't be here if it weren't for Sam. Sam was there for my father in his time of need. Now my father was there for Sam in Sam's time of need. Don't forget about the people that help you get to where you are. Don't be too busy, too important. Take time to reach back and invest in those that have helped you. It may not be to give them a job like my dad did, but at least you can stop by their house and say thank you. You can invite them over, or you can do something kind for their family. This is what David did in the scripture. His best friend, Jonathan, was killed in a battle. Jonathan was the one that really looked after David. When his father, King Saul, was trying to kill David, Jonathan would get inside information and sneak over and give it to his friend David. Years after Jonathan's death, now David is the king. David asked his assistant, "Is anyone from the house of Jonathan still alive? If so, I want to do something good for them." They said, "He has one son that's crippled, but he's still alive." This son was living in extreme poverty, no future to speak of. David had them go get the young man, bring him to the palace. He looked him in the eyes and said, "Listen, from now on, you're going to eat at my dinner table every night. From now on, you're going to live in the palace with me, treated like royalty." The young man was amazed. He asked, "What did I do to deserve all this?" David said, "Your father was a friend of mine. Your father helped me get to where I am. Now I'm going to show you honor. I'm going to show you respect because of who your father was. David could have taken the easy way out and said, I'm going to build you a house down the road, have somebody take care of you, you go off and live a good life. No, David understood this principle, that the greatest gift he could give was himself. David gave that young man his time, his attention, his friendship. The truth is, none of us got to where we are on our own. It's easy to find fault with the people that raised us. I hear it all the time. Joel, my parents didn't treat me right. My father worked all the time. He was never there. My mother had issues. My teachers, they didn't really invest in me. No, they may not have been perfect, but they made sacrifices so that you could go further. Most likely, they did the best that they could with what they had. I was talking to a friend recently. He was the star football player in high school. He loved sports, but his father never came to one game, never saw him play one time. But this son wasn't bitter. He said, Joel, my dad was a good man. He spent all of his time and energy working to provide for the family. That's how he showed love. Come to find out, his father was raised without a father. He'd never seen a father modeled, didn't really know what he was supposed to do. Sometimes we judge people by what we know instead of by what they know. This son was smart enough to realize his father didn't know any better. He was doing the best that he knew how. Now this son takes his father to all of his grandson's football games. They sit together in the stands and enjoy each other's company. What am I saying? Don't make excuses for why you don't need to see a loved one. Don't live bitter because you didn't get what you needed. Well, Joel, they didn't treat me right. They didn't make me feel important. They should have spent more time with me. Why don't you have a bigger point of view? Maybe they did the best that they knew how. After all, that's your family. That's your flesh and blood. That's the one God ordained to be in your life. You didn't just come from any parents. God handpicked your parents. He knew what they would have and what they wouldn't have. He knew what they could give you and what they couldn't give you. It's easy to focus on the negative, but keep the right perspective. They're the ones that changed your diapers. They're the ones that fed you, clothed you, stayed up late at night when you didn't feel well. They're the people that when you were a baby, you spit up on them, and they shook it off and gave you another bottle. Now, what have you done for them lately? Have you invited them out to dinner? Have you stopped by the house to enjoy their company, to talk about old times, to laugh together? What if they weren't going to be around next year at this time? What if the next few months was the only chance you had to let them know how you feel, what they mean to you? Are you allowing your work schedule too busy to keep you from it? Or maybe have you not spoken in years because you don't get along anymore? You're at odds and you're just letting it ride. Maybe one day you'll make things better. God is saying, today is your one day. Reach out to the people that have sacrificed for you. Go visit that family member. You have a gift that they need. And it's not necessarily just your money, your clothes, your food. The gift you have is yourself, your friendship, your time, your love, your hug, your smile, your gratitude. Don't keep putting it off. Do what you know you need to do. Last week, I was flipping through the obituaries, my favorite thing to do. I saw this picture of a man about my age. He always waited on me at the department store. Just saw him a couple months ago in the back of the store. I was in a hurry, but I took a few moments to go over and shake his hand, see how he was doing. Just a 2-minute friendly conversation, no big deal. I never dreamed that would be the last time I ever saw him. He had been there for years. Friends, life is short. Don't miss these opportunities to give the gift of yourself. I was so glad that at least I took time to go say hello. When I saw his picture, while I was saddened to know that he was gone, I was satisfied knowing that I had taken the time to let him know that I cared, that he was important to me. My question is, the people God put in your life, your family, your friends, those that you interact with, if they were gone tomorrow, would you be satisfied that they know how much you love them, what you mean to them? Have you seen them lately? Expressed your feelings? Taken time to enjoy their friendship, laugh together? If not, why don't you do it sooner than later? I've been to too many funerals where I hear people say, if I only had another chance, if I could just really tell them what they meant to me. This is your other chance. Look around this week. Don't take the people God put in your life for granted. When you give the gift of yourself, your time, your attention, your love, you're keeping the accounts full. When somebody goes to be with the Lord, while you'll still be sad, you'll have no regrets. There'll be a satisfaction knowing they knew exactly how much you loved them, how much you valued them in your life. What makes losing a loved one much more difficult is when we have all these things we wish we would have done. I wish I would have gone to see them. I wish I would have taken my friends. Or I wish I would have forgiven them and made things right. Talked to a young lady just recently. She's dealing with all this guilt, all this remorse, because she got at odds with her father. They had not spoken in a long, long time. Her father, in his early 50s, was suddenly killed in an accident. She said, Joel, I can't handle it. I'm dealing with all this guilt. How do I let it go? And of course, God will give you the grace to do it. But the point I'm making today is it's much better to keep the accounts full. You've heard the saying, live every day like it could be your last. Another good thought, live every day like it could be your loved one's last. Because when you die, if you know the Lord, you're going to go to heaven. You're not going to miss us. There's no time in heaven. The next thing you know is we'll be there. The difficulty is not when you die, but when a loved one dies. That's when people have too many regrets. I've heard it said, if you only had an hour to live, who would you call? What would you say? And what are you waiting for? It was a Thursday night 13 years ago. I was home sound asleep in my bed and I heard the phone ringing. I woke up in a daze, looked at the clock. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. Answered the phone and it was my father. He said, Joel, I'm not feeling well. I need to go up to the clinic to take dialysis. Can you take me? I said, sure, I'll be there in just a moment. I'd gotten in bed that night at 2 o'clock. Just had a couple of hours of sleep. Picked my father up and got him to the dialysis center. Most of the time, once he got all hooked up, he would go to sleep. And so I would leave and go to work or go back home and come pick him up 4 hours later. And this morning, I was particularly tired, but something down in here said, Joel, you need to stay and visit with your dad today. It just felt right. I knew I was supposed to do it, so I pulled up a chair, and for the next 3 or 4 hours, my father and I just sat there and talked and laughed, had a good time together. He got finished about 8 in the morning, and I took him home, and I was standing in my parents' kitchen, just about to leave, and my father called me back over. He gave me a big hug and said, Joel, you're the best son a father could ever hope to have. Now, I left that day feeling extremely satisfied. I knew how much my father loved me, and he knew how much I loved him. What I didn't realize was later that day, he would have a heart attack and go to be with the Lord. The last thing I remember him saying to me was what a good son I was. The last thing he remembers me doing for him was spending that 3 or 4 hours together. And while I still miss my dad, I have no regrets. There's nothing I wish I would have done differently. Nothing I wish I would have said. I'm at peace. And I don't say that to brag on me, but rather to challenge us to make sure we're keeping the accounts full. Make sure you're not putting things off thinking, yeah, one day I'm going to go see them. One day I'm going to take my grandchildren. One day I'm going to forgive and make things right. Let today be your one day. Take time for the people God put in your life. Don't cheat them out of the best of you. Your friendship, your love, your smile, your hug, that's one of a kind. Nobody else can give it. If you'll learn to give the gift of yourself, then your accounts will stay full. You'll have no regrets. The people in your life will not only be better, but you will be better. And I believe and declare you will live a blessed, happy, fulfilled, victorious life in Jesus' name. If you receive it, can you say amen today? You have a divine destiny. You're not an accident. God saw you before you were ever even born. And He's put gifts and talents in you. He's given you ideas and creativity. There's something that you can excel at. You have all this potential on the inside. But it's not going to do you any good unless you start tapping into it. And too many people today are not really fulfilled. They're just going to work, trying to make a living, stuck in a job they don't even like, not pursuing the dreams and desires that God's put in their heart. And as long as we're not moving toward our God-given destiny, there will always be a sense of dissatisfaction on the inside. And I can't think of anything more tragic than to come to the end of your life and realize that you have not become all God created you to be. You just lived an average, mediocre life. You got by, but you didn't have any passion. You didn't have any enthusiasm. You had all this untapped potential on the inside. I heard somebody say, the wealthiest place on earth is not in the oil fields over in the Middle East. It's not in the gold and diamond mines in South Africa. The wealthiest place on earth is in the cemeteries, because buried in those graves are all kinds of dreams and desires that will never be fulfilled. There are books that will never be written, businesses that will never be started, ministries that will never see the light of day. The incredible power of potential is lying in those graves. And I want you to feel this sense of destiny today. Friends, you have an assignment. There is something God wants you to accomplish. And if you don't get it done, not only are you not going to be fulfilled, but this world is not going to be near as bright a place as it could be. And the reason some people are not happy, the reason they're not living with enthusiasm, is because they're not really in their purpose. Understand, there is a gift, a treasure on the inside of you, but you got to do your part to get it out. And I want to challenge you today to be more determined than ever that you're going to get focused and start taking steps toward the dreams and desires that God's put in your heart. Our goal should be we're going to live life to the full, pursuing our passions, pursuing our dreams, and then when it comes our time to go, we're going to go empty. We're not going to have any potential left in us. We're not going to have to bury any of our treasures. We're going to have spent our life well. Well, you say, Joel, how do I really know my purpose? How do I really get into my divine destiny? It's not complicated. Your purpose has to do with what excites you. What are you passionate about? What do you really love doing? Your purpose will be a part of the dreams and the desires that are in your heart. It'll be a part of your very nature. See, God made you. He's the one that put those desires in you, so it'll be something that you like doing. For instance, if you really love children, then your purpose will probably be something that has to do with children. Teaching them, coaching them, mentoring them. I know people that are just extremely helpful people. They're so compassionate and caring. Well, their purpose will probably fall into a social field or maybe even a medical field. A doctor, a nurse, a caregiver, a counselor. What I'm saying is that your purpose will always follow after what you are passionate about. And I know from the time I was 10 or 11 years old, I was always fascinated with television production. I loved the cameras and editing and watching people make movies. That just excited me. And from the time I was a young man, I would come down to the church on the weekends. We had some little industrial cameras, and I'd spend all day Saturday just playing with the television equipment. I didn't know how to run it. I'd just turn it on and off and unplug it, plug it back in, coil the cables, get it ready for Sunday. But I was passionate about it. It's what came naturally. When I got old enough to run the camera in the services, maybe 13 or 14, I was very good at it. In fact, I was one of the best cameramen that we had. But it wasn't hard for me. It was natural to me. I didn't have to work at it. It was like a hobby. I loved doing it. See, that was all a part of my purpose. That was hardwired into me by the Creator of the universe. And I just kept following my passions. I went to college and studied it for a year, came back home and started the television ministry. And even today, being on the other side of the cameras, I can see how God was guiding and directing my steps. But some of you go to work every day and you don't really enjoy it. You don't like the field that you're in. You get up in the morning dreading it. You can't stand the traffic. You don't enjoy the people. Listen, you need to re-examine things. You are not meant to live a miserable and unfulfilled life. And you need to make sure that you're in a field that's a part of your purpose. Don't go 25 years doing something you don't like and just stay there because you're comfortable and you don't want to rock the boat. No, get into your divine destiny. We should love what we're doing. We should go to work every day with enthusiasm, passionate about what we do. And I'm not saying we don't have to work hard, and there are not going to be some frustrating days and people we don't want to deal with. That's all a part of it. But ultimately, we should enjoy what we're doing. When you get home at night, you should feel rewarded, like you've accomplished something, like you've made the world a better place. And really, when you get into your purpose, work is not even going to be like work to you. It's going to be like a hobby, and on top of that, you'll get paid for it. I heard somebody say, do what you love doing, and the money will always follow. And I believe that if you'll really get into your purpose, you'll never have a problem with money. Because when you're fulfilling your God-given destiny, you'll not only be excited and enthusiastic about it, but you'll excel in that area. And when you excel, promotion and increase will always come. And every one of you has hardwired into you a divine purpose from the Creator of the universe. It's a part of your nature. And until you start pursuing it and start really getting into it, you're not going to be fulfilled as you should be. I like to think of it like this. God made all these different kinds of animals, and He's given them each unique characteristics and unique things about their personality. For instance, the owl is nocturnal, likes to be out at night. And so God has given the owl eyes that can see as good at nighttime as we can see in the daytime. But if that owl decided he wanted to start sleeping at night and staying out during the day, and all of a sudden he started going against his God-given destiny, then he's going to have problems. He's going to have a hard time finding food. He's going to struggle all day, not enjoy his life. And it's all because he's not doing what he was wired to do. He got outside his purpose. When you're really in your purpose, things come naturally to you. You don't have to tell the owl to stay up at night. It's natural for it to stay up at night. And it's got the equipment for it. It's got the goods. God's given it the vision. Doesn't have to struggle to stay awake. God made it nocturnal. Well, in the same way, God has put certain things in every one of us. And if we can just get into our purpose and do what we're good at naturally, then life is not going to be a struggle. It's not going to be a headache. You're not going to get up dreading going to work. God, why do I have this job? No, make sure you're in your purpose. When you're really in your purpose, there'll be a joy on the inside. Deep down in here, you'll feel a sense of accomplishment, a sense of fulfillment. And yes, we're going to have to work hard. Yes, there will be times that we struggle, but overall, when you're really in your purpose, you will be fulfilled and you will enjoy your life. I think about another type of animal, a retriever, a certain type of dog. It's natural for a retriever to retrieve. That's what's been hardwired into it. You can take a bunch of retrievers and put them in a fenced-off area, and all day long, they'll just lay around the yard, lazy, unmotivated, no enthusiasm, just dragging through the day. But when that owner comes home and opens up the bed of his pickup truck, and they begin to realize they're about to go hunting, those dogs will come alive. They'll start barking, they'll start jumping, they'll run around the yard in excitement. I mean, it's a night and day difference. Why is that? It's what they were meant to do. God put that on the inside of them, so there's a natural excitement, a natural enthusiasm. They don't have to get themselves all worked up to be happy. They don't have to say, well, let me go listen to one of Pastor Joel's sermons. I just lost my joy today. No, when they know they're going hunting, they're excited about it. That's been hardwired into them by the Creator of the universe. And I really believe when we get into our purpose And when we really start doing what we know we're called to do, there will be an enthusiasm and excitement that just comes naturally. We may not jump up and down every day, but down in here we're going to know that we know that we know, man, this is what I was called to do. This is my destiny. And every one of you has something that you're good at naturally. There is something you can do that's just no big deal to you. I was thinking about Cindy. Man, that girl can sing. You've heard her up here. She hits those long, high notes and just holds it forever. And it looks totally effortless to her. Doesn't even look like she's trying. I think, man, I can't even hit those notes in the shower. But why is that? It's because she's doing what she's good at naturally. But on the other hand, if you're doing something that's not natural, and it's always a struggle, and it's always giving you a headache, and even after you try and train and practice and push, you still can't seem to get it down, you've got to recognize that's not in your nature. That's not one of the areas God has gifted you in, and you need to just let it go. Find something that you're good at naturally. And of course, there are going to be times we have to push through and learn things that are hard, but in general, life should not be a constant struggle. When you're really in your purpose, there'll be an ease, and it'll come naturally. I know these two friends that went to Bible school together, and they were studying to become a pastor. And when they graduated, one young man started his own church, and he asked his friend to come along and help. And this other young man was very set on starting his own church, but since nothing had opened up, he decided that he would help him out for a little while. And this young man was a phenomenal musician. He could play the piano like you'd never heard, and he could write music, he could sing. He was just very gifted in that area. And so his friend, the pastor, put him in charge of the music ministry there at the church. And for several years, he excelled in that area. I mean, the church was known for its music. Things began to grow, and great things were happening. But this whole time, this young man kept telling himself, man, I got to get out there and start my church. I got to get out there and really get going. Well, his wife and the pastor, his friend, when they saw how much success he was having in the music ministry, they began to challenge him about what he was really called to do. I mean, his music was affecting so many people, but this young man wouldn't hear it. All he wanted to do was start his own church. To him, music was too easy. He had always done that. He'd always excelled in that area. He thought for sure he had to get out and try something more challenging, something new. But one day he began to realize everything he was trying to give people, he was giving them through his music. He began to feel a sense of destiny about what he was already doing. In fact, when he really thought about pastoring, there were many aspects that weren't appealing or exciting to him at all. It was just something that was stuck in his mind. And he finally decided he would just stay right where he was at and continue using his God-given gifts and talents that came naturally to him. But see, he almost missed his divine destiny because he was too close to it. It was just so normal for him. He'd been good at music all of his life. It's no big deal. But really, it wasn't normal. That was a gift that God had given him. And God has given every one of you certain things that you can do well. There are certain areas that you excel in. You know what they are. Don't take them for granted. It may be in sales or communication or encouraging people or in athletics or in marketing. Whatever it is, just because it comes natural to you, don't take it for granted. That's what God has hardwired into you. It's a part of your destiny. Make sure that you're using it to the full. I think about my brother-in-law, Kevin. He's the administrator here at the church. And there's nobody on this earth more detailed than Kevin. I mean, he is so organized, so efficient. He uses his time well. That is a gift that God has given him. It is not normal to be that organized. Kevin knows every detail of the construction down at the Compact Center. There is not a penny being spent that he doesn't know about it. And he can tell you not only why it's being spent, but he'll tell you 3 other ways that we tried to do it to save money. He is full of details. And if we ever go on vacation with his family, Kevin will send me an itinerary. He'll send me my tickets. He'll send me a weather report. He'll send me traffic instructions. He'll tell me if there's problems on the freeway. He'll send me rental car information. He reminds me to bring my driver's license. One time I got out there and forgot it, but Kevin will send me things in writing that I never even think about. He is gifted in being detail-oriented. And Kevin stays in his area of strength. He excels as our administrator. It's what he's good at naturally. And I'm sure Kevin could think in the back of his mind, well, if I'd get up there and preach, I'd really be making a difference. But no, if Kevin got up here and preached, we may not need the Compaq Center. He's not here today. He can't preach, but you know what? I can't administrate. He's doing what he's good at naturally. He told me the other day, Joel, this is a dream come true. See, he loves coming to work every day. He's passionate about it. It's what he's good at. It's a part of his purpose. And as I said, every one of you has something that you are good at. Don't let the enemy tell you you've been left out. God has not left anybody out. You have talents, you have abilities, you have natural strengths, and you need to be aware of what they are and make sure that you're taking advantage of it. It says in Romans 12, verse 6, God has given each of us the ability to do certain things well. You can't do everything well, but you can do something well. Focus on your strengths and make sure that you're not missing out on your purpose because you're always trying something that's so complicated for you. Again, your purpose is going to have to do with something that comes naturally to you. And when you get into it, it's just going to feel right. It's just going to feel like it fits. I know I have this certain pair of tennis shoes that's broken in real good and molded to my feet. And when I put them on, they just feel like house shoes. Well, that's what it feels like when you really get into your purpose. It just feels right. You just think, man, God, I know this is why you put me here. I was thinking about my father. Daddy loved to go to India. That was one of his main passions. And 2 or 3 times a year, my wife Victoria and I would travel over there with him. And oftentimes, after we would land, we would travel 4 or 5 hours way back into one of the little villages. And of course, there weren't any hotels back there. There wasn't any kind of food that we could eat, and was hot and dirty and uncomfortable. And I remember one time in particular, we stayed at this old, rundown government army barracks. It was nothing more than 4 concrete walls, no inside bathroom, no AC, no sheets on the bed, just a little cot. And about 50 yards away, there was what they used for the sewer. And so you can imagine how it smelled. At night, there were bugs and all kinds of insects running around. And Victoria and I, we never complained about it, but honestly, we could not wait until we got out of there. We were counting the days until those meetings were over. But it's interesting about my father, he no more noticed any of that. You'd have thought Daddy was staying in a fancy hotel. He didn't smell the smells. He didn't feel the heat. He didn't see the bugs. He was as happy as he could be. In fact, I've never seen my father so happy as when he was in the villages of India. He told me one time, Joel, if I didn't know I was supposed to pastor Lakewood, I'd live right here. Well, why was that? Why wasn't he uncomfortable? It's because it was a part of his purpose. He was passionate about it. Just like God had hardwired TV into me, God had hardwired that into him. It's funny, one time when we were staying there at those army barracks, early one morning, my father and I were out on the front lawn eating breakfast. And I'd been married to Victoria maybe about a year or two, and here Victoria is so beautiful and comes from a well-to-do family, and I take her to about one of the roughest places on the earth. But she never said anything about it. But Daddy and I were out there by ourselves eating breakfast early one morning. All of a sudden, we hear Victoria start screaming to the top of her lungs. And man, I'd never heard anything like that before. And so we threw our breakfast down and ran toward the building. And here she comes running down the stairs, shaking her blonde hair just as fast as she possibly could. We were thinking, what in the world is going on? And about that time, we saw this lizard about this long, about that fat, you know, like an iguana. And all I could think is, girl, just keep on shaking. Because I thought, you're looking at the wrong person if you want me to get... Finally, she shook him out of her hair, and I thought I was going to have to resuscitate her. Thank God we are still married even today. But you know, seriously, none of those uncomfortable conditions ever bothered my dad. Why was it? That was a part of his purpose. He was passionate about it. And it says in Proverbs 18:16 that your gift will make room for you. And I'm convinced if you'll get into your real purpose, no matter where you are, you won't have any problem being happy. You won't have any problem finding work, finding friends, finding opportunity. In fact, if you'll focus on your strengths and do what you're gifted to do well, you'll have to turn down opportunities. But some of you today, you are not happy, you're not fulfilled because you're not in your purpose. You are doing things that you're not hardwired to do. You've got to make sure that you're fulfilling the dreams that God has placed in your heart. Are you tapping into the potential that's on the inside? Have you discovered what you do best? What comes naturally? And are you excelling in that area? If you're called to be a stay-at-home mom and raise your children, do it to the best of your ability. Don't feel pressured to get into some career just because your friends are doing it. Recognize that's a part of your purpose and do it well. If you're gifted in the area of sales, don't sit behind a desk all day long by yourself. Get into the area of your gifting and do it to the best of your ability. If you're going to fulfill your purpose, you've got to do what you're hardwired to do. And you've got to make sure you stay in the area that you're passionate about. I read about this golfer that had a dream to become a professional. He was very talented in golf. It was a natural gift that God had given him, and he had excelled all through high school and all through college. But when he got up to the professional level and he saw how tough the competition was, he soon realized he couldn't make a living at being a professional golfer. He had to come to grips with the fact that that dream was just not going to come to pass. But instead of giving up on his passion and just going into another field, he decided to come at it from another angle. And he started following the pros around on the tours, tracking every shot that they hit, writing down what club they used and what distance it was from and how accurate it was. And before long, he had all this incredible data. He began to study it and analyze it, and he found out all these interesting things about each player. And after a while, the pros began noticing him on the tours, and they inquired as to who he was. And when they found out he had done all this research and he knew so much about each one of them, they started hiring him as a consultant. And he would tell them when they were using the wrong club and how they could improve their game. Eventually, he wrote 3 very popular books sharing this information. What's my point? This man stayed in the area of his passion. Just because his dream didn't work out the way he thought it would, he didn't just give up on it and get outside of his natural gifts and talents. He found a way to make his passion work for him. And we've got to stay open and recognize just because you have a passion in your heart doesn't necessarily mean it's going to qualify you for your exact dream the way you're thinking about it. Stay open, and just because one thing doesn't work out, you've got to be willing to go at it from another avenue. Friends, you got a gift on the inside of you. There's a treasure down in you, but you got to work with God and do your best to get it out. One of my favorite movies is Chariots of Fire. And in this film, the lead character is a very gifted runner. He's called to be a missionary over in China, but his dream is to compete in the Olympics. And he knows that God has given him this gift of running. And he explains how when he runs, he feels like he's dedicating himself to God. He said, when I run, I feel God's presence. He was saying, when I do what I know I'm called to do, when I'm using my gifts and talents, when I'm pursuing my destiny, I can feel God smiling down on me. One of my favorite lines in the film, he said, to win is to honor God. And if we could just live by that same philosophy, in other words, to excel, to pursue our purpose, to be the best that we can possibly be, is to honor God. If you're called to be a businessman, excel at it and you honor God. If you're called to teach children, excel in that area and you honor God. Whatever you are called to do, if you'll do it to the best of your ability, excelling in it, realize you are honoring God. But some of you today, you have not stepped into your divine destiny. You're doing things that you don't have any passion about, no enthusiasm. You're just going to work and trying to make a living. And I realize we can't just snap our fingers and change careers, but at least I want to stir you up today to examine your life and be aware of how you're spending your time. Are you pursuing your passions? Are you doing what you're good at naturally? If not, why don't you make some changes? Time is short. I would encourage you, find the one thing that you're passionate about and start giving yourself to it. And God will lead you one step at a time. I mentioned earlier how God put the desire in me for television production as a young man. I followed that passion. Then when my father went to be with the Lord, I had the desire to step up and pastor the church, and I followed that passion. And I can honestly say today that I believe I've stepped into my God-given destiny. I know this is what I was called for. This is why God put me here. And that's my desire for every one of you, that when you would follow after God's perfect will, knowing your calling, staying in your purpose, and then one day you could look back. Or maybe you could even say it today, this is why God put me here. I know this is the whole reason I was born. That's when you're living life to the full, you're giving to the full, you're loving to the full, you're being all God created you to be. And then when it comes your time to go, you can say with the Apostle Paul, I have finished my course. I've spent all the talents and the potential God has given me. I've used all my gifts to the very full. Friends, let me challenge you again. Don't die with buried treasure. Find your purpose. Pursue it. Give it everything you got. If you do that, God will lead you and guide you. He'll pour out His favor and blessings, and you too will fulfill your divine destiny. Amen. If you receive it, can you give the Lord a shout of praise today?